Hello everyone, this is ChakaWhat here, and today I'm going to be presenting to you my top 5 provinces of Tamriel. This list was suggested to me by GeoPlaya, so thanks for watching my videos, dude. So, I am very sorry for not getting a list out in about a month. I've been very busy and very stressed. But at the time I got the idea for this list, I had been replaying Skyrim quite a bit, and I was looking for good Elder Scrolls ideas, and I just couldn't believe I hadn't done this one yet. It's like, I did top 10 cities, and was like, well, that's all the geography I need in my life. So I sincerely hope you enjoy it, and I hope you accept my apology. Up at number 5, I have chosen Vallon Wood. Home of the Bosmer, Vallon Wood is a jungle region located in the southwest corner of Tamriel. It was deemed a wasteland province during the Second Empire because much of it is covered in inhabitable subtropical rainforests, with the coasts being impenetrable mangrove swamps. The Bosmer colonies are scattered and connected only by foot trails, which would have disappeared entirely if the Thalmor had not cleared and widened them for passage through the province. The cities are housed by giant migratory trees. The first Bosmer king, King Eplier, founded the Cameron dynasty and drastically shaped the Bosmeri way of life. In order to adapt to their environments, they made a pact with the forest god Ifri, known as the Green Pact, which promised that no Bosmer would harm, kill, or eat the vegetation growing. Due to this, whatever they killed they must eat within 3 days, even if it is a fellow Bosmer. Vallon Wood is also home to the bestial races, the Ingma and the Hollow. In the Second Era, Vallon Wood became part of the Aldmeri Dominion. The alliance reigned strong until the armies of Tiber Septim wiped them out and inserted imperial rule into Vallon Wood. In order to maintain control, Tiber allowed a certain amount of autonomy for the Bosmer to form their own tribes, and let the Cameron kings maintain power. Many human settlements, however, were abandoned and instead taken over by beast folk. When the Fourth Era came, so did the Thalmor seeking to rebuild their dominion. They were able to reconquer Vallon Wood despite Bosmer rebellions funded by the Penitens Oculatus. Many believe that the Thalmor have taken to quote-unquote cleansing Vallon Wood. Despite the Bosmer being elves, many have shown disdain for losing their families to the Thalmor. 4. Hammerfell. Hammerfell is a vast province on the west of Tamriel. It is composed of the vast Alakir Desert along with other mountain ranges and grasslands. Here's a funny piece of trivia. We pronounce Alakir that way, but it's weird because we're putting the emphasis on the apostrophe. Alakir, there's no I there. Anyway, the northern part of Hammerfell is part of the Iliac Bay region along with High Rock. The climate is harsh and hot. Before the Red Guards arrived, Hammerfell was deemed a deadland province. Elves and their Breton ancestors would form small communities on the shores. But it was only when the Dwemer arrived from Morrow did the province really become inhabited. When the Ragada, later called Red Guards, fled their home of Yakuta, they landed on Hammerfell's shores. Because of the Red Guards' prowess in battle, they were able to sweep through and conquer Hammerfell easily. This earned them the disdain of other races in the neighboring provinces. It was only when the Orzamer rose up where the Red Guards challenged. They allied with the Bretons and fought a 30-year war with the Orzamer. Afterwards, Hammerfell's borders opened for trade. With Yakuto and Hammerfell's climate being so similar, the Red Guards had an easy time taming their new homeland. In the Second Era, after High King Thasad II died, the province was plunged into a bloody civil war between the Crown and Forebear factions. The Forebears were backed by Tiber Septim, who helped push the Crowns out of the mainland of Hammerfell onto the island of Stros Mackay. The Crowns still kept fighting, though, even after their Prince Ator was assassinated during the Battle of Hunting Bay. Luckily, the sea pirate Cyrus the Restless defeated Tiber Septim's dragon, Nafalalargus. That's so fun to say. And his general, Emil Richten, forcing Tiber to sue for peace. Say it again. Nafalalargus. You have to say it with like an Irish accent. Nafalalargus. Though the Crowns and Forebears stopped fighting by the Third Era, their rift was larger than ever. Both sides refused to help the other when Cameron the Usurper began campaigning through Hammerfell. He was eventually defeated by High Rock, whose conflict between the kingdoms of Sentinel and Daggerfall greatly affected its neighboring region until the Dragon Break, aka Bethesda saying, "Oh whoops, we shouldn't have had multiple endings to Daggerfall, let's make them all canon." By the Fourth Era, with the Thalmor retaking provinces, Hammerfell was backed by the Legion to hold the Aldmeri Dominion out as much as possible. 3. Elsewhere. Located in the south of Tamriel between Vallon Wood and Argonia, Elsewhere is a diverse and mystical province divided into the north and south regions. The north contains desert badlands where the tribal Khajiit live, and the south contains lush jungles perfect for the growth and harvesting of moon sugar, which the aristocracy of Elsewhere take advantage of. The spiritual leader of the Khajiit is the Main, and they hold the highest power. In the early Second Era, a government was formed for the Khajiit under the guidance of Kiargo of Anaquina and Ashita of Palatine. The province's name was derived from a Khajiit proverb, "Perfect society is found elsewhere." However, the unity was not met well with the aristocracy, who attempted a coup. Kiargo petitioned for the Emperor of Cyrodiil to help, but with their own internal problems, they refused. Peace was only achieved when the spiritual Main of that time stepped in to broker peace. Because of this, power is shifted between the two parties with the cycle of Master and Secunda. The Khajiit joined the Aldmeri Dominion, putting them on bad terms with the Third Legion, who invaded the city of Sunchal and killed many of its residents. The Empire used their seized land and Elsewhere for the assemblage of the Numidium, a colossal Dwemer golem. The blaze forcibly drove out or killed the Khajiit living there in order to build the halls of Colossus. During the construction of the Numidium, the Dragon Break occurred. The Numidium was destroyed, and the Empire obscured its history, but the damage and pollution it had done to the Khajiit's land was irreversible. The Khajiit still remember and hate the Empire for this. The 5-year war brought more turmoil when invading forces of Bosmer killed many Khajiit. Though which side struck first still remains a mystery. By the Fourth Era, the Main of Elsewhere had been assassinated. The province also ironically joined the Empire. However, the Confederacy rejoined the Aldmeri Dominion after they stopped the Void Knights when Master and Secunda disappeared from the sky, though many believe that the Altmer were the cause of this. The Confederacy was then dissolved into the ancient states of Anaquina and Palatine. 2. Argonia. Also known as Black Marsh, it is home to the Saxhleel, also known as the Argonians, and is a swamp region full of the mystical Hist trees. The Saxhleel have a deep connection to the Hist. Those born and living in Black Marsh have the strongest connection, and each Argonian child is fed Hist sap when they are a baby. If the Hist are ever in danger, they can call the Argonians back home to defend them and the other life there. Much of the early history of Black Marsh is very mysterious. The Argonians living outside of their homeland in the First Era tended to assimilate to other cultures, making Argonia even more intriguing to outsiders. However, bandits began exploiting the sheltered swamps, leading the Imperial Navy to go deeper into Black Marsh than any human had ever done. The most famous of the bandits, Red Brahmin, used the winding rivers of Solrest to evade capture. The Navy followed him, and eventually the Argonians were defeated by the Roman Empire. They retreated to Hellstrom, where they were exploited by slave traders. Entire tribes were taken to Morrowind in bondage. Eventually, Black Marsh became a prison province where the dangerous criminals of the quote-unquote civilized provinces were sent. Haha, reminds me of a continent I know in the real world. During the Second Era, an act of retaliation came in the form of the Nahatan Flu. Whether it was created by the Argonians or not is unknown, but it successfully drove aggressors from the land. Even when the land became habitable after 40 years, outsiders were still afraid to step foot in the province. However, by the Third Era, most of Black Marsh had been assimilated into the Empire, save for Hellstrom, where only the Saxhleel could enter. During the Oblivion Crisis, the Argonians used their superior guerrilla warfare to beat back the Daedra, being the strongest province to stand against Maroon Zagon without the help of the hero of Kvatch. Unfortunately, the city of Lilmoth was the first target for the infernal city of Umbriel. The soul-stealing power leached the lives of many Argonians, replacing their souls with pure malice. 2 heroes, the Breton Enaig and the Saxliel Miorglim, boarded the city, and with the help of Atropus Mead and Esmar Sol, they were able to defeat Wuhan and finally bring peace to both Argonia and Tamriel. For a short while. After the events of the Red Year in the Fourth Era, the Argonians retaliated against the Dunmer who had oppressed them for so long and invaded Morrowind. They devastated much of the south until being driven back by House Redoran. By Azura, I finally finished the script. And for number 1, I have chosen Morrowind. Morrowind is a heavily diverse province located in the northeast corner of Tamriel. The province is divided into the mainland and Vvardenfell, the two being separated by the inner sea. In the Fourth Era, the island of Solstheim also officially became part of Morrowind, despite the heavily Nord population there. The known history of Morrowind stretches back to the Merithic Era. The prophet Veloth led the Shimmer to Morrowind around the same time the Dwemer were settling there. Disputes over territory, conflicting religious beliefs, and the Dwemer's mockery of the Daedra led to fights between the two Mer. When House Dagoth learned of the Dwemer's discovery of the Heart of Lorkhan, this led to even more bad blood between Nerevar and the Dwemer king. Azura informed Nerevar and his tribunal that the Dwemer were building a new god under the mountain, and this led to the decisive Battle of Red Mountain. During this battle, Dagoth snuck into the chamber of the Heart of Lorkhan and confronted Dumok and Cregnac. The Dwemer disappeared from Morrowind, and the tools of Cregnac fell into the hands of the tribunal. Dagoth fled, and later the tribunal, Sothasil, Amalexia, and Vivek, used the tools to make themselves gods. Azura cursed them for their treachery and created the Nerevarine prophecy. As punishment, she also turned the Shimmer into Dunmer. The 3 new gods formed the Tribunal Temple, and the first council was created between the Dunmer houses. Dwemer, Dunmer, Shimmer, ha! Oh my! In the Second Era, the great houses became divided on how to respond to the threat of Tiber Septim invading their province. House Redoran was left alone in the opposition, and Mournhold was destroyed by Imperial troops. Vivek agreed to meet with Tiber Septim, and the armistice was signed that integrated Morrowind into the Empire. Berenzia was installed as the queen. The houses Hlalu, Redoran, and Telvanni were ready to accept the Empire, but House Enduril was not, and many of its nobles committed suicide rather than accept the Empire. Because, drama. The Third Era brought the Nerevarine sent to Vvardenfell as an unknown prisoner. They rose to fulfill their prophecy with the help of many of Vvardenfell's inhabitants, including Vivek, who had come to the honest realization that his time as a god was over. The Nerevarine ventured into the Ashlands to defeat Dagoth, and after that Amalexia, who in a fit of insanity had murdered Sothasil. After this, Vivek disappeared. In order to keep the Ministry of Truth afloat above the city of Vivek, a Dunmer named Wuhan constructed the Ingenium, which ran on souls. Unfortunately, when the wife of Esmar Sol was chosen to power the Ingenium, the Dunmer attempted to rescue her. Doing this, he damaged the Ingenium, causing the Ministry to crash into Vvardenfell, and for him and Wuhan to be sucked into oblivion. The crash of the Ministry of Truth sent shockwaves through Vvardenfell that caused the Red Mountain to erupt. This disaster caused many Dunmer to flee from their homes to the other provinces, or at least to the parts of Morrowind that were unaffected. This, paired with the Argonian invasion, greatly weakened Morrowind. But the houses of Redoran and Telvanni are dedicated to rebuilding their homeland. I hope you've enjoyed this history lesson with ChakaWhat. Honestly, it was kind of a bummer learning about how similar the Elder Scrolls history is to the history of the real world. It's just all about conquest and killing. At least I still have Sheogorath. A reminder that I am still open to take questions for the Q&A I announced like a month ago. I have some friends from Twitter who have asked me questions, and I don't want to keep them waiting, so this is my last request. Remember to like and subscribe. Bye!
Do you believe in kissing, honey? You bet I do. Well, I believe in kissing.